Hi guys, welcome back. So we've got one more weekend of fantastic international rugby to enjoy before Christmas, and I'm going to preview these games, tell you my selection changes as if they were picking their strongest teams. Now let's get into England versus South Africa. Easily England's biggest test of the autumn. South Africa have had a mammoth international season, starting with the Lions, going all the way through to now. How they're still going with such energy is seriously impressive. And South Africa just squeezed the life out of Scotland last week. Seriously impressive stuff in the power stakes, in the scrummaging stakes. England put away Australia fairly comfortably, although they certainly weren't firing on all cylinders yet. So they're going to have to step up against a very battle-hardened South Africa, who can still put out very close to their strongest team. Now, in the World Cup, England couldn't match them. And South Africa pretty much have the same team, and England are probably trying a few new players, so it makes the challenge even bigger. And not to help matters, they've got a bit of a prop crisis again on that loose head, with Genge is going to be out. Marler would have just come back from isolation, so would he be fit to start? I don't know. So that's going to be pretty tough. Do they call in Maka Vunipola? It doesn't look like it. So it's going to be a real uphill battle. Those scrums are going to be fearsome. England are going to have to seriously step up. Now, South Africa, in the last two games, playing the same tactics they always do, so you know what's coming. But, you know, like I say, if you're going to be hit by a bus, do you really want the solace of knowing how exactly you're going to get hit? Probably not. It's going to hurt either way. So we know what's coming, but no one's really been able to stop it yet. On the positives for England, they have been able to blood some youngsters, get good game time into them. Marcus Smith, Freddie Stewart, these sorts of players, really good for them. And their set piece has been decent so far, but like I said, this is the big test. You know, on the negatives, if you like, there's still question marks over the selection, the Farrell conundrum. Should he be starting? Should he be captain? Should he be on the bench? Curry's still being played out of position. You know, that's the sort of frustrations you get with Eddie, really. He does exactly what he thinks. And if he wins this game, then again, you must say fair play. But still question marks in my mind and many of your minds as well. South Africa, like I said, they've just kept their energy so high in the long season. Ridiculous line speed and hitting in defence. Great power carries, and their scrum and their replacement front rows are just out of this world. I think they are missing a few players, of course. Herschel Yanti's had a bit of a poor game, missing to Clerk. I wonder if they do go Reinach in this game. I think they probably should. Right, let's get into what I think is England's best 15. Here it is. Now, straight up on the loose head, I'm gone for the youngster of Rod. He's going to have a huge time scrummaging, but Marler, I think if he's just out of isolation, would be a bit of a push to start him, but I'd definitely have him on the bench if it starts going badly, which it certainly could. Blamire, that would be a real, again, baptism of fire for him going in against South Africa, but he may have to. So those youngsters, if it is Rod and Blamire, what a game, what a challenge for them. Sinclair, we've read a bit in the press about how gutted he was to miss the World Cup final, or certainly go off very quickly, so he'll really want to get stuck in and kind of make amends there. Toje and Hill certainly is their first choice second row pairing. Many of you guys commenting that maybe Law should go in there, and he is a great player, but he's not that big and heavy. I think they do need the bulk of Hill in there for sure. Back row, of course, I'd put Curry at 7, so Law's 6, who I think has been playing really well. I'd have him as captain, Curry at 7, Don Brown to 8. Please, let's have that lineup. It just looks so balanced to give us a chance there. At 9, you definitely have to start Youngs in this game. There's going to be plenty of kicking. He'll need his experience. Quirk and Mitchell probably not ready yet to start against South Africa. I want Smith to start. He really is that good. I think he just has to. It's an easy decision for me. Outside him, I'd probably have Tuolangi and Slade. Now, Slade's kind of a little bit 50-50 there. He has been a bit wasteful at times, in amongst some really good stuff. If they went with Marchant, I'd be really happy with that as well. But give Smith two good options outside him to put through holes. On the wings, I'd have May on one wing, who was quite quiet against Australia, but still pretty solid. And I'd probably have Malins on the other, with Radwan on the bench, just because the amount of kicking they're probably going to get. That extra fullback's going to help, I think. That extra kicking, high ball work from Malins could be quite useful. And then Stewart at fullback, we know he's good under the high ball and he's going to get plenty of practice in this game. So that's the team I'd go for. Let me know what you would change. Let's talk about Wales versus Australia. Really intriguing matchup here. Both teams, as you can see there, have lost 2, won 1. If they win this game, you could probably say, they're going to take some positives out of the autumn series. If they lose it, it would be disappointing. So both teams a lot to play for, I think. Wales, they've fought really hard without getting into the groove yet. And definitely injuries, unavailability have definitely not helped them. But in international rugby, as I always say, there aren't any excuses. They may be reasons, but they're not excuses. You just got to do the best you can. Anyway, they've been grinding hard, but they're going to have to step it up with their best performance if they are to beat Australia. But Australia are in a similar position. They are losing a lot of players. It looks like they're starting to tire a little bit. Do they have one big game left in them? So I really see this as a 50-50, which makes it very exciting to watch. Wales got that 6-day turnaround, carrying a lot of bumps and bruises from that fearsome Fiji game. But this is the 15 I would go for if they're picking their strongest at the moment. Carey, Elias and Francis, who hopefully should have recovered. If not, John will have to go in there, but I think maybe he's injured as well. So again, a little bit of a prop trouble there, but they're the ones I'd go for. Second row seems very settled. Rowlands and Beard settling in for the Six Nations. That's a good sign, getting used to playing with each other now that Alun Jones is obviously out with his operation. In the back row, Wainwright sounds like he's going to be fit, which is great. I think they do need that extra size in there. Have Jenkins at 6 and the captain, Basham at 7, Wainwright at 8. I think that's a really good back row. First choice halfbacks are Thomas Williams and Biggar, certainly. Biggar didn't have the greatest game last time out, but he definitely is still first choice. Where I would mix it up is in the centres, as I hinted at in the last video. Jonathan Davis and Johnny Williams haven't been as impressive as Tompkins and Halaholo. So let's give Tompkins 12, Halaholo 13 a go. And might as well let them fight out for those centre spots. It's quite intriguing. Then the gas man, Louis Rees-Zammit on one side. Got to get him into space a bit more. Teams really know how dangerous he is, so try and close him down quick. So they're going to have to be clever to do that. Adams, if he's fit, on one wing, but we'll see how he goes with his injury. And Liam Williams, for me, just pushing out McNichol with a good showing against Fiji. So let me know what you think of that selection. So let's talk Ireland versus Argentina. Argentina lost fairly narrowly versus France, but France were the better team, and then they beat Italy fairly comfortably. And Ireland are coming off the back of 2 of their best performances probably ever, certainly under Andy Farrell. Obviously that big one last weekend, the huge win against New Zealand, that was so impressive. The fact they managed to carry on playing and attacking like they did against Japan was simply sensational. And you've got to think anything other than a decent win versus Argentina would be disappointing, considering those performances. But Argentina are absolutely no mugs. They've got to be careful, and maybe complacency could be Ireland's worst enemy here, because off that high of New Zealand, can they really raise themselves again? If they do with a big win, it would just be a dream series of games. Now, interestingly, Irish fans and media are often a little bit cautious when things are going well, and I've been getting lots of comments, hearing lots of things in the media about, well, have they peaked too early? Now, the problem is, of course, if you show your hand a little too early before the World Cup, teams have a chance of trying to crack what you're trying to do. What I would say is the way they're playing now has so much more variation to it compared to the Joe Schmidt way of playing. There's a lot less chance of being able to crack how it goes. So anyway, I think it's okay. Let me know if you disagree and that you're a bit worried about that peaking too early thing. On the selection terms, with 2 perfect games, very hard to change very much again. So here's my teams. Porter, Kelleher, Furlong, of course, just a sensational front row at the moment. I think probably the best in the Northern Hemisphere. I would like to see Sheehan come on as well off the bench. Stay with Henderson and Ryan, but no problem if Byrne plays. These 3 seem nicely settled as a bit of a first choice 3, if you like, in the second row stakes. Of course, Doris, Van der Fleet and Conan. And that match against New Zealand was pretty much a coming of age for Doris. So impressive. And stay with Gibson Park, no reason to change. Now, it's certainly true that he's had fantastic fast ruck ball to go for, whiz the ball away, make his decisions on the front foot, which keeps Murray at bay. But what happens when Ireland struggle in the game, which is going to happen at some point? I guess that's still the question, but at the moment you can only judge what you see, so he definitely stays. Now, a change they're going to have to make is Sexton, because he's injured. Sounds like a bit of a 4 to 6 week injury. So Carberry would start after a good showing against New Zealand. Massive chance for him to show he's got the quality. Like I said, in the summer, I wasn't too sure. In the centres, sticking with Aki and Ringrose. Aki's been solid. I can't help but think when Henshaw's fit again, maybe he will come back in. But Ringrose has been absolutely sensational. Just maturing into a world-class all-round 13. We knew he was good already, but he's just confirming it here. The wingers really liberated by this game plan, especially James Lowe. Loves popping up in attack all over the place. Again, what would happen when they're under the pump with him? That's one question he'll have to answer. Conway has just been inspired. I mean, great pick from Farrell. Barely put a foot wrong, and in attack, super dangerous. And then finished off with Keenan, who's super slick, great link player. And sure, he is a little lightweight, to be honest, but that's not what he's there for. There's plenty of other players in this Irish team to bust the holes. So finally, let's talk about Scotland versus Japan. Now, Scotland were certainly crestfallen after their defeat to South Africa. They never really quite clicked together and got it going. They felt like it was there if they'd managed to click, but they didn't. And South Africa just squeezed them with their power game. And it was far too much for Scotland in the end. So Scotland will want to bounce back against Japan, who of course dazzled in the World Cup. But, against Ireland, they were absolutely hammered. Looked a shadow of their former team. Can they come back and show some of that World Cup form? If Scotland start fast and get on top, you think Scotland should having the beating of them, having seen what we've seen so far from Japan. So let's have a look at the team. Go Schoeman, McInally and Fagerson. Now, obviously, this front row had a seriously tough time of it against South Africa, but that could happen to anyone, so I think you don't drop them for that. In the second row, I think I'd swap it around a bit. I'd get the young Hodgson in there, 23 years old. I think this is a good game to get him in. Skinner may be good, but not exceptional so far. So get him alongside the more experienced Gilchrist. I think that's a good call. And can we get Watson back? Hopefully he's fit enough to start. So Ritchie, Watson, Fagerson, their best back row. Then Price and Russell. Now, Price I thought was decent against South Africa. Russell made quite a few errors, to be honest. But, he's still their best 10. I think that's pretty clear. But if they decided to start Hastings to get him the game time, I think that would be fine as well. In the centres, I think go back to Johnson and Harris, their best centre partnership. In the back three, Van der Merwe stays, of course, just a star performer, so consistent. He's just been a revelation for Scotland. And on the other wing, I think you definitely drop out McLean, who had a torrid time against South Africa. And I'll put Graham back in. This could be definitely that fast-paced, open game that he might thrive in. So, yeah, can't wait to see Graham on the wing. And Hogg at fullback, of course, just one try away from a Scottish record. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think of all of those teams, how you think these games are going to go, and I will catch you next time.